Hello, hello, everybody. I'm going to invite Yvette. So give me 1 second. Hi,
Hello.
how are you? You
I'm
look
good. I'm glad.
beautiful.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Me too.
You caught me halfway around the world.
I know we're going to go ask you a bunch of questions about that. But yeah, first off, glad that you're here. And we'll expect a couple of people to drop in today. But in the meantime, I'll introduce you.
Okay.
So, Yvette Irvin is a light worker, an empath, an intuitive, and an awakened soul, currently on a spirit led journey, which I hope you'll tell us a little bit about. And I met you in real life during the pandemic at the farmers market, which was amazing. And we connected because you know so much. You were just very intuitive and you knew. Because I'm very shy about like talking about this spiritual stuff in like public, but you're not. So you were very inspiring for me in being more out there and being myself. So,
I could feel your energy. I remember that day actually, but I think our souls recognized each other
hmm,
first, and
yeah.
and ever since then we've been like, kicking it and moving forward and just really expanding our lives. So it's a great feeling though to really have
Hmm.
those connections where you can just talk and just be yourself.
Yeah, even if you're halfway around the world now, it's like there's still that the strong connection, I think.
Yeah.
So, yes, we're going to get into your journey, but because I was inspired by you to title this Belong to Yourself by a post that you made, I really liked that um, phrase. I wanted to ask you first about what does that mean to you? Where did belonging to yourself come from?
Well, that's a good question because I never knew that I didn't belong to myself. It wasn't a word in my vocabulary until I felt what it meant. I never heard anyone say, belonging to themselves. And I felt that I found like this unexpected sort of gift to belong to myself because, the need to belong to others. I mean, it starts so early in our lives. You know what I mean? It's like from
Hmm.
childhood, it's like, we do things and we compromise ourselves to get the approval or love of others, right?
Hmm.
And then it becomes a way of life until you find time to kind of awaken your spirit and sort of like decompress and just kind of just get rid of all the noise out there and do things for yourself that aligns with who you are. And you
Hmm.
really have to know you have to love yourself enough to want to give you that, because it takes a
Hmm.
lot to disengage, to say, hey, I need to belong to myself and accept it.
Hmm.
So it's just a phrase that I guess I just kind of just that's what it
It
felt
was
like.
channeled or you
It
you
was
felt
just
it.
divinely like given to me, belonging to
Hmm.
self. And I think it's so important, but it's appropriate as well because
Hmm.
I think in this new age of divine feminine energy, shall I say, the age of
Yeah.
Aquarius, and so much is heart centered. And so, of course, when we're heart centered and not ego centered, it's like we can feel and we can lead with our hearts. And that allows us to tap in, into an authentic space,
Hmm. Yeah,
you
that's
know?
so true. And I'm
hmm
wondering, how long have you felt that sense? Like, where did you first learn that you needed to belong to yourself?
I didn't know that because,
You didn't.
I think just if you keep living, you don't realize that you're giving so much of yourself away to others or things or places or whatever. Because our society is bred like that. what are you doing for others? And you have to sacrifice, you have to compromise, you have to. And it's kind of like a martyrism, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
especially for us women. I
Yeah.
mean, and I thought about that. And who wants to be a martyr? I mean, that is like so outdated, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Totally.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know any martyrs personally. I mean, they do have. I do know people who they suffer from that syndrome, you know, wanting to save everybody. But I mean, publicly, I think the first person that comes to mind is someone like, I don't know. Don't laugh, but the first thing that comes to mind is like Mother Teresa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so selfless. And I don't even know if she was ever young and beautiful. I mean, I've only known her to be
She's
old.
just a symbol of selflessness.
And so obviously, I want to ask her if I could, like, if she were here, I would want to ask her a few questions. Like, don't you ever want anything for yourself? I mean,
Mm.
don't you ever get tired of doing all this stuff and being all these things to other people? Because I really feel like in order to give to others, you have to really belong to yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you really have to give yourself that space where you are comfortable. You're your own best friend, I like to say. You know that song?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to belong, but you have to be true and authentic to yourself instead of allowing things from the outside to determine who you are.
Yeah.
You have to own yourself. You know, you have to define yourself, and also you have to do a lot of things. And and I think it's really deeply rooted in self-love. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because I think especially during the pandemic, that whole self-care, self-love vibe was like, you know, trending like crazy, right? Because we were like
Mm-hmm.
in quarantine,
We were
and
learning.
yeah, we didn't know anything about, you know, self-love. I mean, you know, I mean, where are we going to get that from? And so we had to kind of give things to ourselves, and then we started. It became a bit of a like a catchphrase because I'm like, you know, I think I'm going to do this for myself, and it felt differently for everybody. But I really think that in a perfect world, because you know we all want to so much, you know, we want to give, we want to, like, you know, we want relationships, you know, we want people to like us, we want to join companies, we want to be part of groups,
Mm-hmm.
because we want to give ourselves, and we often give too much, you know, and we can
Mm-hmm.
turn that back around and give that same energy, that same love, that same patience, that same grace, you know, to ourselves. Imagine, I mean, how amazing we would be as people. Do you understand? Because how do you know to give to someone else if you can't give
If
it
you
to
can't give,
yourself,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all these people who want all of these things, all of these relationships, those romantic relationships, those jobs, those careers, and you sell yourself out. You understand? You abandon
Yeah.
yourself because you
Yeah.
want something outside of yourself, what you think is more, because you want the approval of what other people think. And you put that
Yeah.
over yourself, and that's
Mm-hmm.
like self-sabotage and self-abandonment as well.
Yeah. And
So we need some, yeah.
I was just gonna say, I remember one of your stories, the first stories you told me about why you were at the farmer's market is because you wanted to work for yourself and you wanted to, you could like literally couldn't do what I guess normal people would do. And that was really inspiring for me too because you were trying to just make it on your own and belong to yourself.
I was I was staying true to myself and my
Yeah.
core values, no matter what anybody said. And of course, sometimes it's not easy, but it is a process. And that's just like
Mm-hmm.
one of the ways, you know. But I was like, that's one of my core values. It's like there's no way that anybody can pay me enough. And just also valuing yourself, knowing your worth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like even if you, because anywhere you go, you're going to do an awesome job, you know, but will they appreciate you and will they pay you your worth?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not in control of that.
Yeah.
But when you work for self, it's like, oh, I think I need a day off.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I need to pay myself a little raise today. You know, like it's like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so. Yeah.
I love that about you. And for example, for the people who just joined, Yvette recently followed her massive intuitive hit to go to Mexico. And do you want to tell more details about that?
Thanks a lot for putting the spot. So basically, all I can say, and I try to explain it to people as best as I can, because this is another layer of self, where when you awaken, when I say awaken, I mean like you are able to vibrate at a higher frequency, okay, and you're
Mm-hmm.
able to recognize your life purpose. That it's more than just about like what you can do, but who you are, and all of your uniqueness, and how you can not only elevate yourself but also others just by being yourselves,
Yeah.
and to create abundance, right? Because when you are in your divine purpose, it's like that's an abundant place in itself, right? And many
Mm-hmm.
people don't choose that because it's scary and it's uncharted waters. It's like, this is something new, and you don't really know a lot of other people who are like doing it, right? And so there's like
Mm-hmm.
no roadmap, and then to like really like say, hey, I'm gonna go the road less traveled. I'm gonna check this out. It's scary. It means giving up my old self, you know, the one that I defined myself by for so long, to take a chance. And I like to say, to bet on me,
Mm-hmm.
to bet it all. It's like, imagine you're at the crap tables and you say, I'm betting it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you better be right, because if you're not, you're going to lose everything, but you feel like you're worth it.
Yeah.
See, maybe you wouldn't do this for anyone else, but you're going to do it for yourself. With that kind of confidence, because it's coming from a different place. Because when you are, spirit led, or, you lead with that heart, it's like no matter what, even if it doesn't look like what you thought, you can never lose, because you gain something. You will definitely gain something. But when you step into your divine purpose and your spirit led, it's like who's in charge of everything, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
me, it's spirit. And so
Mm-hmm.
you are betting and you're willing to try something new, but you really first have to understand what's going on. It's like, because this is all like new, because we're all like star seeds and light workers and healers and everything. But you have to really have a strong sense of self, really, because
Mm-hmm.
once you start to spend more time with yourself, and you can hear yourself, and you can see all of the magical things happening around, right? Like all of the signs, all of the little miracles. And we start to,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us have like clairvoyant gifts. So we're close to the veil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
And
we get
sometimes it doesn't make sense, like
it
the
doesn't make sense.
instructions, which it didn't for you, right? Like you didn't know why, or
I'll
you
be
did a
honest with
little bit.
for me, I believe that I've always had it, but as a kid, I just really just like, it's not cool. No one, no one believes me. They laugh at me. And so I would kind of just push it down, but every now and then it would slip in. But I always was really connected, but I believe that when it's your time, you know, um, you will awaken, and everything that you ever have done in your life has prepared you for this moment, you know, because you
For the
are,
decisions.
yeah, it's like, because you can be yourself, but just completely yourself, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and with abundance, because we think that we live in a world where we believe that abundance, for the most part, comes from without, like outside of ourselves, right?
Right.
You know, people, places, things, what people think of us, our reputation, right? And then when things don't work out and we fall and we feel terrible because we based ourselves on something outside of ourselves. But when you are walking in your divine purpose and you're listening to your intuition, it never strays you wrong,
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, it's a little bit like you don't really trust it, because your ego is like, you know, it's vying for the leadership, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all I can say is the more experience, the more you trust it, the stronger it gets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's all I can. It's just like anything else. The more you do it, like where your attention goes,
Energy
you know,
flows.
energy flows, right?
Yeah. How how do you, because I feel like you're really, really strong when it comes to just following your gut feelings, especially when it comes to making the big decisions that might seem crazy or not logical.
Yeah.
Um, but I know that you've shared a little bit about it's not easy. So, what advice would you share with people?
I think that the most important thing is to understand that it's not easy. If it were easy, everybody would do it, and everybody's not called. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once you know yourself, you have a strong sense of self, then you're able to discern a bit more. But more importantly, you have to recognize that you're never alone. You are never alone. Like you are being led, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the spirit world is with you. And if they didn't think you could do it, they wouldn't have put you up for it,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know. And so it's just one day at a time, one day at a time. And I do believe that it doesn't happen overnight. I believe that everything in your life has led you to this point, but you didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize it, okay? Until you kind of get on the path and you say, wow, I understand now. I see what happened. It's like when you get down the road and you look back and you say, okay, now I see how to get here, you know?
Mm-hmm. And how that happened. Like,
And,
oh,
and why and why that happened. Yeah,
yeah, I had to go through this hardship in order to be
exactly.
ready for this one.
I
So,
mean, and who wants
makes
who
sense.
wants to who wants to be called and it be easy, and because really it's about who you become in the process. It's not it's about the
Mm-hmm.
journey. It's not about the destination, right? Who you're becoming in that process. And there's no roadmap, there's no book, oh, there's no rules, you know, but you get to strengthen yourself, your character, your spirit, you know, whether it's like you start to understand that, wow, I'm a powerful manifestor. I can make anything happen because you keep doing it and you're understanding that you know how now, you know, whereas before, you know, you didn't really believe, you didn't understand, you know, but now you're focusing on it and you understand like, wow, I wish I had known that before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all I can say is just that it's just a matter of number one, choosing self to say, I think I love myself enough to know that I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna go for this thing, you know. And then also, of course, that you're not alone because you never do anything alone. Especially, you know that in the
Yeah.
spirit world, it's like we're just merely like vehicles, right?
You
You
let
know,
it flow through
flow through
you.
us.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, um, we have a lot of work to do on us so that we can be
Mm-hmm.
that vessel, you know, like that, you know, almost like this temple of like golden energy that can communicate and discern between, you know, from spirit, like what it wants us to do for others, what our path is. And, you know, did I hear that clearly? Oh, you said that? Okay, you ask again. And it's crazy because I can't believe that, you know, they even want me to do all this stuff, you know? It's like, what? Like, you know, I never saw this coming in my life like this. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I always thought, you know, I had been told a lot of times that, you know, you are this, you're a healer, you're this, and I would be like, no, no, that's nice, but that's not me. That's too much. I don't want to be responsible. I don't want. That's not the path that I want to take. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, if you signed up for it before you came here, your team, your ancestors, your peeps over there, they're going to make sure you're up for it because you benefit, but your whole bloodline benefits as well.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yes.
benefit too, and they're counting on you, right?
Backwards and forwards.
Yeah, 7 generations back, 7 generations forward. So we are
Mm-hmm.
breaking. We are breaking all kinds of family. Dare I say,
Curses.
curses? Yeah, I don't want to freak anybody out, but curses. And it's like, but I'm just me. Like, how can I like, but you know, but just be your authentic self, And, you know, like you say, like, oh, Yvette, you're so courageous, you're so strong. And all I can say is that everything in my life has prepared me for that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But before I was being strong for other things and other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm doing it with
For
my intent,
you.
for my divine, yes, for the divine, for my purpose, for my life
Mm-hmm.
purpose, you know, and becoming a much
Yeah.
better version of self by owning myself so that I can be my best, and vibrate high, and manifest like crazy, but also inspire others to do the same, you know, because you have to understand that when people vibrate high and they're called, it's like we have like this energy, right? This energy field that is like it's it's worth more than gold. It's priceless. It's hard to explain
Mm-hmm.
until you see what happens. It's like people who are in like your life, they benefit from your energy too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And when you leave, your energy leaves too, you know? It's like, I mean, I've seen it happen.
Yeah, when you don't belong to yourself, it gets blocked from
And you give it away
flowing
to
through.
everybody.
Yeah.
You just,
It all goes back to that.
the self-love, but
Yeah.
also belonging to yourself, because when you don't know who you are, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not about who you think you are, but who you really are,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Right.
then you would value yourself more. Do you understand? You value
Mm-hmm.
yourself because you know who you are. You don't wait for others to value you. You determine your price, your worth. Got it? From within.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And you're able to see that more when you love yourself. And then when you elevate even more, because the self-love thing is, that's the root. And in life, there's only two emotions. You know, there's love and there's fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're vibrating at the frequency of authentic, pure, divine love, which is the highest frequency.
Yeah. I love it. I'm letting it sink in because the energy of your words is so powerful, I think. Um, Anyone who's lucky to watch it now could probably feel it, and anyone who watches the replay will get that download. And I thought it was interesting that you mentioned it's worth more than gold, this belonging to yourself, because I was in an astrology class recently, and the teacher said discernment is in the one of the yogic texts is considered more valuable than gold. And discernment, of course, goes back to knowing who you are and knowing what's not you, what is you,
Right,
seeing
right.
who, yeah, just knowing who you are, because that is the root of making things happen and manifesting. So just wanted to make that connection. And to go back to self love and belonging to self, do you think there's a difference there? Or
Can you
self
repeat that?
care?
Okay,
Like
so the question was, is there a difference between
to you,
belong, belonging to self and
self love or self care?
definitely, but they're kind of intertwined, but they're different. Okay, as I mentioned before, um, self-love is the holy grail. That's the root. That's the big mama, you know, right? And then of course the others are like offshoots of that. They're byproducts. So
Mm-hmm.
self-love comes first, because how can you possibly belong to self or even think that you deserve or worthy of belonging to self? It's like, for example, and I want to make it clear, because sometimes when I talk like this, people think that it's a selfish gesture, right?
I know, yeah, I know some people will see it that way, but it's because they're not feeling the energy of where that is coming from. But please
Okay.
go explain.
So self-care is something that you do for yourself, in terms of investing in like your wellness, your overall wellness, and you know, to sustain yourself more so. You're caring, you're doing these things, and I want to add that self-care is important, and nobody can care for you and take care of you better than you. Okay? So again, giving it to self, giving it to yourself. No one knows you, no one can love you, no one can for you like you can when you're healthy. Okay? I'm talking about when you're
Yeah.
loving yourself, right?
Hmm.
And the other one was uh, self-love, or was it
Self, yeah, self love.
so self-love, in my opinion, is when you have a keen appreciation for yourself. Do you know? Like you like yourself. Yeah, I appreciate myself. So what happens when you appreciate yourself? You're nice to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're like your own cheerleader, and you know you bring out the best in you. You know how to do that for yourself. You know your gifts. You know your value as well. You know, um, and you're not so hard on yourself all the time. It's like, you know, again, that same that you give to others, you appreciate it in yourself, so you turn it back around, you know,
Mm.
and I'm giving it to
Yeah.
myself. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm going to give myself some grace. Or, you know, I'm going to tell myself, you know, when I have a bad day, that that's okay, you know, let's do it again tomorrow. Or you did good, girl. You know, you just don't be so hard, because
Yeah.
this is what we have to give to ourselves. So you're appreciating yourself, you're knowing your worth, and you're being nice to yourself, because you want people to be nice to you, but you're not nice to yourself, you know? And we always want, again, people to do things for us. We want to, like the opposite of empowerment. We want the approval of others we care about, if they chose us or not, right? Say, for example, you know, we want to be chosen, or, you know, we grow up with that notion that I'm better, I'm more valuable because someone else says so, because they chose me, you know, to head this project, or because this person chose me, they want me to be their wife, so I'm better,
Yeah.
okay? Instead of saying, in a perfect world, I have to be honest with you, in a perfect world, I wish they could change the rules. Like, for example, because, you know, we have challenges in life with people, you know, the first thing they want to do is they, you know, they want to be in love, right? They want to be celebrated. They
Mm-hmm.
want, you know, all that. And imagine in a world where before you can have a child, before you can get, you know, married and all these things, if they said, say there was a court that said, okay, get an application, get in line, fill it out, and then we're going to have an interview, right? Just go through the interview process. I mean, they do it for everything else, right? So why not do it for self? And the interview process is something like, are you belonging to yourself? Right? And then, because if
Mm.
you belong to somebody else, maybe you're not up for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go back to school, or go back to in life, and belong to yourself first, because there's no way that this is going to work. You can't learn when you're in the game. You know, you have to
Yeah.
practice
Yeah.
on self first, so that you have something to offer. And if things don't go right, or things don't go well, then the first thing is that you don't have the tools, kind of business. You know what I mean? I've heard people say, well, we didn't have the tools. Well, because, and we have the tools now, but you have to love self first. You have got to give yourself that time. And we don't always grow up like that in environments that nurture our, you know, our soul, that already appreciate us.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes we have to do this for ourselves. Okay? We're in it for ourselves. So, like, why not? And we have to learn what that looks like, because we often mimic what we see, you know. And of course, a lot of us see a lot of stuff that's not what it says it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
So just imagine if we, you know, if we consulted, or we, you know, we had to have a conversation with spirit or whatever, because we want to be able to eliminate um, as many tragedies in life as possible. We have to, like, you know, as they say, like in boxing, there's like a term where they say you have to punch, but you have to block too, right? You punch, but you got to block too. So you can avoid, right, the other person coming on and punching you. And I would say that it's a wonderful thing to want to belong to someone else or something else, which is great, because once you love yourself, then you can discern better, and you can know your worth, and you can say, you know what, I'm prepared to to share or belong with someone else, not to, but with someone else, because it's a grown person's job, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but of course, we don't know that until after we're in the accident. You know, we're in traffic, and we're about to get taken out. You know, and of course everyone's sad. You know, and, like, you know, we want to take everything back. But that's a step that I think is really important. And that's when you have to take accountability for yourself and to tap into your own power and or learn again who you are and where you can find these tools so that you can belong to self first, and then you have a lot more to offer.
Hmm. Yeah, when you were saying that, I was just getting this visual of like all these little dots representing people who belong to themselves, but then there's like the whole, and that's a healthy community where everybody belongs to their self and they don't get their energy from other people, or it's just very reciprocal and
Definitely.
independent, but also interdependent in a healthy way. There's the paradox of having both.
Because there's nothing wrong with, again, like people liking you or wanting you, whatever,
Yeah.
but you mustn't base your self-worth,
Hmm.
a sense of
On
self,
that. Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Because you'll be
Totally.
disappointed every time. You know?
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. Um, do you have tips or ways that you have personally um, benefited from belonging to yourself, or like practices that have helped you learn that you can share?
I think it's definitely a journey, okay? Because, you're at it for a long time. It doesn't happen overnight, especially coming from, we come from where we come from. And many of us, we come from our background, and that's why that root chakra is so important. We
Mm-hmm.
come from our tribe, our families, and also we carry this collective energy from our generations. And
Mm-hmm.
often sometimes it's not even ours, we just kind of inherited things,
Mm-hmm.
or they know what they know until they project all of their stuff onto you. And you're like this little person in the world, this little beautiful soul, angel, so pure, and then now you gotta spend your whole adult life fixing all the things that happened to you when you're growing up, right?
Or taking off those layers of that were put onto you unwillingly.
And all I can say is that you have to really know and to be able to take an honest look at yourself. And a lot of us do that after we've made a lot of mistakes, because many of us don't want to believe that it's us, that we fix us first and then our environment changes. Or, you're going to date the same person unless you change, right? Same situation, different day, and the common denominator. So you're attracting that somehow. And just be honest. It's like no one wants to believe it, but it's like if it's true, it's true. Like own it, right? I mean, that's part of belonging to yourself, like owning all of you with everything that comes with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The good, the bad, the ugly, you know. If someone doesn't like it, well, I love it, I love it, and I own it, and I got a story, and I've done some things that, are pretty whack, but that's who I am, and I accept that, and I'm better for it, or, I've come a long way, but that is your story, and you own that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the important part to bring self-love back in, which is something I learned, is I used to just put shame on like the mistakes, and that's not self-love. Because you think like, oh, that'll make us do things better next time, but it's not. For me, self-love isn't about like living in shame, because that actually lowers the vibration and
Vibration.
prevents you from expanding your energy field and ability to reach other people and flow. So that's my perspective on that. But I don't know. What do you think?
I think that, first of all, like I said, to like own yourself,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is and all of its ugliness, and
Yeah.
it's like your story is like, and whenever you tell your story, it's like you think that you don't see the value in it. You just know that, why me? You
Mm-hmm.
self-loathe, and you're miserable and you're depressed or whatever. But on the other side of that is that, think of how many people you're going to inspire with your story. Okay, how many people you're going to help. It's like, for example, you hear someone's story, and they want to have a pity party, right? They want to like sit in it way too long, and then, you know, feel sorry for themselves. And then you turn it around, you say, well, hold up here. That ain't nothing. Let me tell you my story, you know? And then they're like, what? Well, that's worse than mine. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing. How can you ever trust anyone that has never gone through anything? You can't
Yeah.
trust them,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, of course, so we have to wear all of these battles and all of these lessons like badges of honor. You got to wear it. It's like, you know, they belong to me. This is my story. Do you understand? That's, again, that's what's unique. And that's what that self-love does. It's like, yeah, that's who I was, but I ain't no more, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you're proud of that. You can look back and say, wow, I have no regrets, you know? This is who I am. And if I hadn't have been that or done that, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
And people really, it really resonates with their spirit because you put your, they can feel your heart. It's like, wow, that's inspirational. And that's something that's priceless because we're at a time, at an all-time high where people really are looking for some sort of inspiration to change their lives, you know? And, you know, it's not easy, but it's like you really have to first have that self-love intact. Don't skip over that lesson because you ain't going nowhere. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Everything gets better. Life gets better, you get better, your money gets better, your relationships get better, everything gets better.
Yeah. It's not like we peak in high school. Like the stereotype, I think that was like a 90s stereotype. Everyone was like always looking back at high school as like the best years. And I was like, is that really true? I don't think that's true at all, obviously. But
I don't
I
think it's
want
true.
no. I want to hear more about the journey you're on now if you want to talk a little bit about it, if you feel like you're ready to. If not, we can talk about other things. But
Of course I want to talk about it. So where should I begin? Because you know it's got lots of twists and turns. And so where can I start? It's like um, we talk about intuition, okay? Because you know I noticed that we use that word on the page, and during this process, you really have to listen to your intuition, and your intuition is that part of you that I call it like a compass, you know.
hmm
It helps you to get where you want to go, right? And without it, you can be lost. But you just have to trust that. And it doesn't matter what it is in your life, what you're going for. It could be a business deal, you know, should I do this, you know, and we get signs all the time, but to listen to those signs, you know, and that's that small, gentle, quiet voice that's saying, no, go to the left, you know,
hmm
or stay home tonight or
Yeah.
whatever, right? And so I really feel like for me, what's happened is that intuition is almost like, you know, it's a little nudge, but now that I've passed that and I have a lot more experience with trusting that muscle, that vibration, it's like then there's other like layers, the next. And so of course I had been getting nudges, but it wasn't clear because it's not like spirit speaks to you and says, okay, Yvette Irvin, this one's for you. This is your assignment, you know, and give you all the details. I mean, again, did I say it's about the journey, right? Not the destination and who you become. So if they gave you all of that, then you wouldn't become, right? And so all I can say for me in my story is that, you know, I have always known that there was something in my life that I just knew instinctively, but I didn't know when, how, whatever. But I would get like little signs. But for me, I like to have proof, really, you know, like, because again, in the beginning, when you're not trusting, you need proof. And the universe says, oh, I was trying to avoid this. But if I have to, I will. And then it starts to, if you're not listening to your intuition, then the universe makes you listen, right?
Yeah.
And it's things start to hurt or things go
Yeah.
wrong.
Then it sucks.
And it sucks, but it's trying to get your attention because it can't drop down and show you, you know, and tell you or spank your hand, you know. And so it does things so that it doesn't, the other thing that where you're going doesn't work out because
Yeah.
you're supposed to be headed this direction. So you get like little nudges, and then of course all I can say is that once I started to recognize, after so much healing, again, another active, selfless act of self-love, that you're so much bigger than you think you are, because you don't know who you are, right? And once you start to see who you are, you say, whoa, this is kind of cool. And none of my friends are doing it either. I'm the first, and I'm different. And, because, again, you're at another level of self-love and confidence. It's like you don't mind being the lone wolf or trying something new or stepping up, because you start to understand who you are and you vibrate differently. But, again, you're never alone, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you get all these signs and stuff. And for me, and I'll say this, for me, and you know a bit about my story, I left everything. I cut off everything. And I mean, beautiful Napa Valley vineyards, right? And, amazing lifestyle and wine collections and friends and things, that you use to make you feel better about yourself. But
Yeah.
but once you get to that point where you start to say, hey, you know what? I want way more than this anyway, right? This ain't enough, but I was kind of settling, but it's like when you understand your power, your personal power, that strength, then you can say, wow, I was playing so small. I was playing myself down because I didn't know who I was.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that line in the Wizard of Oz, where the so-called good witch tells her, Dorothy, because trying to get back home and everything. And she says, you always had it within, You're right. You want to
Yeah.
say, why do you make me go through all of this? But of course the reward is big because you become this person through it
Mm-hmm.
all. And
Go through
so
the journey,
the
and it's a
journey,
beautiful story.
and just know that the longer you're on the journey, the more elevated you become, the more abundant.
Yeah.
Because really, abundance is about energy, and everything is energy. Money is energy. People are energy. Things are energy. And that's real power. And
Mm-hmm.
also to really master self, to understand, because we're all flawed, okay? But we have to come in it, and it's like we got to work on ourselves. We have to not let our triggers control us, or things outside of us control us. To come to this equilibrium, this balance, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
you're cool this way, you're cool that way, and knowing that who you're becoming, you're really liking even more, and that the best is yet to come.
Mm. Yes. So one last question, because I know we're almost at 45 minutes. So that was
Really,
like all really amazing
I want to ask, do we have any
yeah.
questions or anything? Or
Yeah,
can you
does
see any
anybody has
questions?
questions? Feel free to add questions. And in the meantime, I'll ask you my question, which is,
Okay.
you spoke of healing, and what are some kinds of healing that you would recommend for people who want to hone their discernment and come back to belonging to themselves? Because I agree, it takes a lot of that.
It's a lot. And, that's a good question, because it looks differently for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs different things, but we know we need healing. We all need healing, no matter
Mm-hmm.
who you are. It's your choice, act
Yeah.
of self-love, but you have to have a self. You must value yourself so much that you know that you're worth it. You know what I mean? Give me that healing and give it to me again and again, because I want to make sure I got this right. I don't want to go back and do it again. I want the best for myself, because I'm worth it, and I know who I
Uh-huh.
am, and I'm worthy of the best. So the healing for me that I noticed, because I didn't ask for it. It's like, because I don't really know, right? This is my first
Yeah.
time down this road. And so what would happen is that the universe or spirit knows what you need, okay? Because your spirit team has been with you since day one, since you were born, prepping you for this time, okay? All in divine timing, they say, right? And so it's funny. I'll tell you this little story. So I was going and to do this Temescal the other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you know, I have this habit of like checking in with spirit, like before anything, you know, happen, or I make
Yeah.
decisions and moving forward on my path, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was meditating, and you know, and I could hear. And so I said, you know, I'm just myself, and I'm saying, like, you know, I talk to spirit just like I talk to anybody, you know. I don't have to like act, you know, put on a funky accent or get like real proper or anything like that. I just says kind of like a childlike, like, yeah, I'm about to do this thing, you know, and they say that it's going to be this, and I'm going to be going this like little like the womb, and do you think it's okay? Is it the right thing to do? Like, you know, right? And this is
Mm-hmm.
exactly how what I said. And before I could even like get that far, it's like I kept hearing this, yes, 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 yes. Like, you know, it's like, of course, yes, definitely. Like, okay. And then I was like, whoa, you sound like my mother. Like, I didn't even finish saying that. Like, how do you know? But of course, again, you know how they know. They know you better than you know yourself. They know it's like they're in an infinite position, past, present, future, right? They know all about you. And so, but we act like you're the only one and you're doing stuff in secret, right? So, and then I heard this voice that said, who do you think set this up for you? Right? I'm like, duh. Oh, that's right. You guys know. You guys are on my journey with me. You're always with me. You're my guy. That's right. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
sorry. You know. So remembering that we have to kind of reprogram, and it takes a while. It's like because we're at this different frequency, we're learning a new language in a sense. That's what I call a new language. It's like, and again, like I said, like instead of me just operating my divine masculine, you know, my ego, I know what I need to do. I'm a boss. You know what? I'm the boss of me. I'll decide. You know, like, you know, it was nothing like that. It was just like I came so humbly and, you know, vulnerable. Like I just want to, you know, am I okay? Is this, you know, like, am I going to be all right? Like, you know, and of course they're with you and watching because you're being guided. But in the future, if I could do something different, I would not question it at all. It's like, you know, like now I'm like, are you sure? But I thought you said this. Wait, what did you say? It's like, hear it and know it and bam, you know, that point of like absolute infinite faith and trust. And
Mm,
that is a process, just doing it
totally.
more. Yeah, just, yeah. And of course, when that happens, then everything gets, you're in alignment. And then that's when you are really able to see and use your abundance or your gift, your energy. Because the spirit is like, you know, again, they're waiting on you. Anytime now, Yvette, divine timing, when you're ready. But then when you're ready, they won't allow you to wait a minute longer than necessary to say, okay, let's go. Let's do it. Next level, promotion, more abundance, more this, more that, you know, more everything,
Mm-hmm.
more. And you're like, oh, I know I'm slow, but I think I got something going now. So all I can say is like a lot of fear has dissipated on this journey because I really think that just like anything else, it's just getting started. That's the hard part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you know
Just
you're
saying
shedding
yes.
layers. You're shedding because you're becoming someone new. You're becoming, or you're like casting off this transient self of yours that you identified with as who you are. But then all along you were being groomed and being prepped to become that higher version of yourself, so you're like you, but you're like more of you, you're like
Yeah.
3.0, 3.0
Mm-hmm.
you. And it's all I can say, it's like the fear dissipated because you decided again to bet on you. I'm betting it all. Okay, I'm trusting, which is a big initiation. Okay, it's big. And once you do it, Even if you're scared, that's what courage is, right? You're scared, but you do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then once you're on the other side, then you can really see things happen because you chose you and you trust. And now things, it's like spirit is like said, now we can really start to work together. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's just that first step you got to take. And it could lead
Yeah.
in any direction because everybody's journey is different, right?
And then also, again, because, you don't have to, just because you're chosen doesn't mean that you answer the call, right? And you can go left or you can go right. It's free will, but once you do, it's like, okay, here we go. And of course, I feel that with me doing that, I actually felt the presence. I feel the presence of my team, my ancestors, my God. I feel them strongly. It's like
Mm,
I feel their pleasure. I feel they're like almost like like they how do you say, it's like congratulations. It's like, wow, we've been waiting for this for a long
yeah.
time,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding their role in all of this, even though you cannot see them physically, but you just have this knowing. Again, that's that different frequency, that different language
Mm-hmm.
that you operate from, and it's here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So letting go of the ego, because the ego is not your friend. Not your friend. The ego will abandon you and boom, like this. And
Mm,
you'll be like, well, wait a minute, but you said that, and the ego's like, I didn't say that. That you and your ideas, like, whoa, So that's the ego, and to be controlled by ego is a low vibration. It's what a lot of people, they feel safe.
it's
They feel
familiar.
familiar. They feel safe, yeah, and it's like what they know. And again,
Mm-hmm.
if you loved yourself, you say, hold up here. How's this been working for me? It's not working so well. So let's try over here. Let's try this. So we're scared, right? We're scared. And, but we do it anyway because we just feel, we're vibrating with that heart space. And we just feel like, okay, I trust, because you're going to get all kinds of signs. All
Mm-hmm.
kinds of, it's like, wow, really? And even a lot of downloads as well,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So
Like I definitely do.
definitely, I know you do.
And
I know
it's not in English all the
it's
time.
not in English. It's not even like a lot of words.
No.
It's
Yeah,
very
that's what I
few
mean.
words.
It's just, it's not what people expect because, yeah, to go back to what we were talking about in terms of clairvoyance earlier, I feel like growing up, because there are so many stories and fantasy novels and science fiction stories about what clairvoyance or intuition looks like, we expect it, or I expected it to be very cut and dry and logical. Like, oh, it speaks to me. Like when you hear a guide, it talks to you with words. And for some people, that's true. It does. But in my experience, it's very, very different. It's just tuning into the world around you because that's where the language is, you know?
And because we get all kinds of like messages, and sometimes spirit uses other people as well.
Yeah.
And I think the more time, I'm glad you brought that up about in nature, because that's a large part of it, knowing how to ground your energy. Excuse me. And also understanding that when we are in nature, we are one, that vibration, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
think more clearly, and it's kind of a meditation with self. And when you're by the water, or when are in the forest, or when you're in the mountain, it's like that energy, it's like we kind of like become one with it, and that's that all knowing, all seeing.
Mm-hmm.
um
And you can
it's
feel
really,
it.
you can feel it. It's important, makes you feel
Yeah.
better. um
Mm,
it kind of charges you up, I think, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And so we learn that stuff along the way, like from different people come into our lives to teach us things, and all of a sudden, you're using different words, and attracting different friendships and things like that. So on the journey, I believe that you never like stop being on the journey. Once you're on it, it's not like, okay, I've been on it 2 years.
There's no end. It's like
There's,
your whole life. You're never gonna stop learning.
and I want to say, even for the, like, for people that say, because we talk about relationships now, I will say that the more healing you do, the more you choose you, the more you're willing to listen and tune into your spirit to heal your vibration. you know um, the higher frequency people, places, and things that you attract, right? Because when you're at a
Mm-hmm.
lower vibration, you're going to attract that lower vibration, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
more you become, the higher vibration. It's like a mirror, right? You attract what you are.
Mm-hmm.
And often we can attract, like if you're at a higher vibration and you attract lower, but it's like you're pouring from your cup into that little cup, but they can never pour into your cup. You
Mm.
know what I mean? And so it's pulling, it's draining you. It's not an equal exchange, and you're out of alignment. You know. And so all I can say is that it's definitely worth it, because again, we know it, but sometimes we don't act like we know it. Is that everything is energy, everything. You know.
Period.
Period. Period. That's it.
Uh-huh.
So,
Totally agreed. And I think that's a good note to wrap up on, because I know, like, we've been talking for an hour. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll have to talk again
yeah, we'll
soon.
have to talk again. And thank you so much for having me. It's funny because this is the kind of thing that we can just go on and on,
Yeah.
like,
And we have
and we
hit the
have,
market many
and we're
times.
always evolving.
Yeah.
So there's always new stuff. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so before we log off, though, everyone follow Yvette at soul_therapy_cafe, right? And
Right.
then she also has a YouTube channel, which she has more of these downloads, and they're really, really inspirational, and you can follow her on her journey, as well as a GoFundMe, and that's on your page as well. So
Absolutely. Yes.
amazing. Well,
Thank you.
thank you so much, and I'll
Enjoyed
talk
it.
to you soon. Thanks,
Okay, awesome.
everybody, for joining. See you
Bye.
soon.